सो गाइज वी आर गोइंग लाइव। चालू हो गया क्या? नोटिफिकेशन तो नहीं आया। अभी तक नहीं आया, अभी तक नहीं आया। लेट्स वेट फॉर सम टाइम। लेट मी चेक, लेट मी चेक। आया क्या? क्या हो रहा है भाई? कुछ गड़बड़ है क्या? अब स्टार्ट हुआ है शायद से। ओके, नोटिफिकेशन आ चुका है। मैं अपने इस फ़ोन पे खोल लेता हूँ स्ट्रीम। हेलो हेलो हेलो। कैसे हो सब? कैसे हो, कैसे हो, कैसे हो? आज कुछ थोड़ा होने वाला है आज की स्ट्रीम पे, तो मैं बोला कि आज मॉर्निंग में सब स्ट्रीम करते। गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। 9:51। आज तक हमने ऐसी स्ट्रीम नहीं की है, तो फर्स्ट टाइम हो रहा है। मेरी आवाज़ क्लियर आ रही है क्या, ये बता दो गाइस। नहा धो के बैठ गए हैं, देखते हैं बस थोड़ी देर में लाइव होने वाला है। कल पे गोइंग लाइव ऑन एक्सपेसेस 9:30 PDT फ्राइडे 10 AM। हम लाइव इसलिए आए हैं क्योंकि थोड़ी देर में कॉल पे लाइव आने वाले हैं। एंड परप्लेक्सिटी का जो एआई वाला जो हमारे साथ इंटीग्रेशन हो रहा है, यानी कि जो भी कोलैब हुआ है ना, तो उसके बारे में डिस्कशन होने वाला है। तो थोड़ी देर में बस लाइव होने वाला है, कॉल पे लाइव आने वाले हैं। आरव श्रीनिवास का जात। आरव श्रीनिवास है ना ये? हाँ, जो भी है। तो आने वाला है। और कितने लोगों ने यहाँ पे नथिंग फ़ोन 2 ले लिया गाइज? ब्रो फ़ोन 2 तो बेकार निकला नितिन पर यार। नहीं यार, नहीं, वेट करो यार, मैं भी यूज़ कर रहा हूँ बेकार। तो मैं भी बोल सकता हूँ ना। मैं क्यों नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, वेट कर रहा हूँ। बस मैं बस एक गेम के बेसिस पे मैं जज नहीं करूँगा फ़ोन को। अभी भी मैं एक वीडियो डालूंगा, थोड़ा रुक जाओ, तब मज़ा आएगा। और जय श्री राम बोलो भाई, जय श्री राम यार, जय श्री राम। अरे यार देखो यहाँ पे श्री राम जी यहीं पे हैं। हाँ, वो सामने ही रहता है मेरे सामने। हेलो ब्रो, ये कौन सा ऑफर है? ये अगर नथिंग फोन 2 आप लोग 19 मार्च से पहले परचेस करते हो तो आपको ये ऑफर मिल जाएगा, जिसमें आपको 200 USD वर्थ सब्सक्रिप्शन मिलने वाला है। ठीक है। तो आपको क्लेम कैसे करना है मैं बता देता हूँ, मैं लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में दे देता हूँ, अपडेट नहीं किया मैंने। तो आप लोग क्लेम कर लीजिए, जिन्होंने भी नथिंग फोन 2 ऑर्डर किया हुआ है ना, तो ये उनके लिए है। तो ऑफर क्लेम लिंक, ये लो, क्लेम लिंक। तो आपको यहाँ पे अपना IMEI नंबर और वो डालना है। नथिंग की वेबसाइट, ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट से जा रहा है ये। भाई ड्यूरेबिलिटी तो 10 के फ़ोन जैसी है, मैंने वीडियो देखी थी नितिन पर यार। आप मालूम है, देखो कैसा होता है ना, एक फ़ोन को जब पकड़ लिया जाता है ना, पूरी तरह से घुस जाते हैं लोग। तो थोड़ा समय दीजिए। कंपनी ने ऐसे ही तुक्का नहीं मारा इस फ़ोन को रिलीज़ करके। ठीक है। अब मैं एक चीज़ बता देता हूँ, मैं सिंपल सी बात है। ये फ़ोन मैं यूज़ कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, विदाउट कवर भी यूज़ किया मैंने। और पड़ा हुआ था बेड में, कल ऐसे ही पड़ा हुआ था, इधर उधर दब गया था फ़ोन। कुछ नहीं हुआ फ़ोन को, फ़ोन चल रहा है अच्छे से। एंड मैं नथिंग फ़ोन 2 और नथिंग फ़ोन 1 को यूज़ नहीं कर रहा हूँ, इसको यूज़ कर रहा हूँ कि यार टेस्टिंग करनी है पूरी प्रॉपर्ली, क्योंकि रिव्यू वीडियो बनाना है। तो मैं उसमें काफ़ी डिस्कशन करने वाला हूँ, सभी चीज़ें कंसिडर करूँगा कि फ़ोन कहाँ लैग करे, कहाँ जिटर लैग्स आ रहे हैं, वगैरह वगैरह सब डिस्कस करेंगे। तो फ़ोन 2 है, ठीक फ़ोन है, नॉट बैड। बट इसको इम्प्रूवमेंट लानी पड़ेगी, लाइक परफॉर्मेंस एंड उस चीज़ों में, देखते हैं कब तक आता है। परप्लेक्सिटी में थोड़ा बताइए। अरे ये एआई वाला सिस्टम है, ठीक है। वही ये देखो क्या सीन है ना, किधर क्या। देखो, Perplexity is a AI answer engine platform. Much like nothing, it exists to cut through the noise of information overload and streamline daily interaction. यानी कि आप लोग कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछोगे ना इस एआई से, तो आपको आंसर करेगा। अब इसका इंटीग्रेशन नथिंग कंपनी किस तरह करती है तो हमको आगे जाके पता चलेगा। लाइक चैट जीपीटी पता है ना, तो उस तरीके का ही है, बस थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट होने वाला है, देखते हैं क्या होता है। हाँ उत्कर्ष भाई, क्या हाल चाल? मैं भी फ़ोन 2 खरीद लिया। अरे बढ़िया, ले लो यार, क्या दिक्कत क्या है? मुझे मैं दूसरा ब्रांड का फ़ोन खरीदे ही क्यों, लाइक पोको X6 प्रो। और कौन सा था, सॉरी पोको X6, और कौन सा था, iQOO Z9 ना। हाँ वो फ़ोन अच्छे हैं इन पेपर और इन स्पेक्स और परफॉर्मेंस में। बट नथिंग कैसे इसको इम्प्रूव करेगा? लाइक जो भी उन्होंने गलती की है, लाइक जो फ़ोन रिलीज़ कर दिया उसको पूरे तरह से टेस्ट नहीं किया, ऐसा मुझे लग रहा है। क्योंकि जिनको भी टेस्ट करने दिया उन्होंने यार फीडबैक ही नहीं दिया अच्छे से, तो इस वजह से ये प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं, देखो क्या होता है। मैं भाई मैंने नथिंग फ़ोन 2 बाय किया लास्ट, उससे पहले फ़ोन 1 यूज़ करता था। ओके, नथिंग फ़ोन 2 बाय किया। बढ़िया। नथिंग मेरा नथिंग वाला आज मेरा आने वाला है नथिंग आज। बढ़िया बढ़िया। क्या ऑफ़र है भाई आईमीआई से? मैंने डिस्क्रिप्शन में लिंक दिया है, तो इस पे रिडीम पे दबा देना बटन, ठीक है? आपको दिख नहीं रहा होगा यहाँ पे। ये देखो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है। यहाँ पे देखो एक मैं जो वेबसाइट शेयर की, रिडीम नाउ बटन दबाओगे जैसे ही, तो आपको ये कुछ इस तरह से यहाँ पे इंटरफेस शो होगा। तो यहाँ पे क्या करना है आपको, अगर आप लोगों ने फ्लिपकार्ट से परचेस किया है ना, तो फ्लिपकार्ट पे यहाँ पे सिलेक्ट करिए, ठीक है? और आईएमईआई नंबर डाल देना और ऑर्डर आईडी डाल देना फ्लिपकार्ट वालों के लिए। और अदर लाइक ऑफलाइन स्टोर से कोई खरीद रहा है तो आईएमईआई नंबर यहाँ पे डालना है और मेल यहाँ पे डालना है और वैलिडेट डिटेल्स करना है। फिर शायद से आपको कूपन कोड या कुछ तो सेंड होगा, मुझे नहीं मिला अभी तक क्योंकि पता नहीं एरर शो कर रहा है मुझे। ये 5 डेज़ के बाद आपको ये वेरीफाई करना है, ठीक है? जैसे आपको डिलीवर हो जाता है प्रोडक्ट, लाइक आज आज डिलीवर हो गया 15 तारीख को, तो 20 तारीख तक आपको ये ट्राई करते रहना है। तो ट्राई करते रहना, 3-4 दिनों में मिल जाएगा ऑफर। जिनको भी फ़ोन टू में मिल गया उनके लिए, ठीक है? और लाइक करो यार जो भी स्ट्रीम में नया जुड़ा है। भाई फ़ोन मैंने भी ले लिया, आज ही डिलीवर्ड हुआ है फ्लिपकार्ट से। फ़ोन अच्छा तो है पर आपके हिसाब से बताइए। फ़ोन अच्छा है, डोंट वरी। कुछ चीज़ें अगेंस्ट पे जा रही है, मैंने ट्वीट भी किया हुआ था, ऐसा नहीं कि मैं अगेंस्ट पे नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, बोलूँगा मैं, ऐसा बात नहीं है। तो मैं दिखा देता हूँ ब्रांड के आपके, ऐसा नहीं कि मैं ब्रांड की तरफ ये है। ओके लाइव चालू हो गया गाइस, एक सेकेंड एक सेकेंड, ज्वाइन कर लेते हैं। हाँ लाइव चालू हो गया गाइस। ये देखो यहाँ पे काल पे इज़ लाइव। काल पे भैया लाइव आ चुके हैं। और मैं तब तक अपना ये खोल लेता हूँ, ठीक है? एक सेकेंड ना गाइज, मैंने ना हेडफोन सेलेक्ट नहीं किए हुए हैं। एक सेकेंड ना, मैं यहाँ पे वीडियो प्ले करके देख लेता हूँ, मुझे आवाज़ नहीं आ रही क्योंकि ये तो गलत सीन हो गया भाई। एक सेकेंड। कल पे भैया लाइव आ गए हैं। ओके मैं यहाँ पे कर रहा हूँ कुछ भी। हाँ अभी हो गया। लाइव का ट्विटर का नोटिफिकेशन आ गया, हाँ हाँ हाँ, उसी के लिए तो हम आए हैं। मैं बस एक मिनट टेस्ट कर लूँ मुझे आवाज़ आ रही कि नहीं। ठीक, आवाज़ तो आ रही है मुझे, आप लोगों को भी आ रही होगी। बस अभी काल पे वगैरह ने अभी स्पेस को चालू नहीं किया पूरी तरह से। चालू कर देंगे तो देखते हैं। देखो यहाँ पे सब लोग जुड़े जा रहे हैं। इसको इस तरह कर देते हैं थोड़ा सा इस साइड को, ठीक है? यानी कि मेरे ऊपर देखो काल पे भैया लाइव है ट्विटर पे। अरे यार नथिंग का गैलरी आ जाएगा, ये नहीं ऑफर फॉर चार्जर। चार्जर का ऑफर आपको शायद बंडल में मिल रहा है, उसके अलावा तो नहीं मिल रहा है। क्रोमा में चर्चर ऑफर मतलब समझ में नहीं आया। डायमेंसिटी 7200 प्रो, प्रो बहुत इनफेयर है 2 के लिए, मतलब समझ में नहीं आया। भाई मैंने ओल्ड वीवो Y7 एक्सचेंज किया बोनस के साथ एंड 3300 की वैल्यू मिली, इज इट वर्थ? 3300 की वैल्यू मिली, हाँ हाँ हाँ, बट वीवो Y7 की प्राइसिंग क्या थी वो बताइए। भाई UFS 2.2 के वजह से क्या 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 प्रॉब्लम आ सकता है? प्रॉब्लम कुछ नहीं आएगा, बस थोड़े थोड़े क्या होगा, कभी कभी ऐप ना आपके जल्दी लोड नहीं होंगे वगैरह वगैरह, कॉपी पेस्ट फास्ट नहीं होगा वगैरह वगैरह, वही डिफरेंस। UFS 2.2 पहले भी यूज़ हो रहा था, अभी भी यूज़ हो रहा है। और हाँ 3.1 के साथ जाना चाहिए था कंपनी ने, देखो कैसे ऑप्टिमाइज़ करता है इन चीज़ों को नथिंग कंपनी। वेट करो, थोड़ा वेट करो, अपडेट आएगा, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कुछ दिनों में फिर से एक और अपडेट रिलीज़ करेंगे अभी। सेम टू सेम, ओके। भाई रिडीम के बारे में थोड़ा बता दीजिए। देखो मैंने लिंक दिया हुआ है डिस्क्रिप्शन में, ओपन करना, ठीक है? तो कुछ इस तरह का पेज आपको शो होगा। तो यहाँ पे देखिए रिडीम नाउ का बटन है यहाँ पे, ठीक है? मोबाइल पे भी आपको नीचे साइड दिखेगा, रिडीम नाउ पे टैप करना, ठीक है? और फिर चले जाना यहाँ पे। फिर आपको यहाँ पे आईएमईआई नंबर डालना है, फ़ोन जब आपके पास डिलीवर हो जाए। फिर ऑर्डर आईडी डाल देना, फ्लिपकार्ट का जो ऑर्डर आईडी होता है, और वैलिडेट डिटेल कर लेना। पर ये 4-5 दिन के बाद करना, उसके बाद ही हो गई है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे लिखा ऑफर रिडेम्पशन विल बी अवेलेबल 5 डेज आफ्टर डिलीवरी। डिलीवरी के बाद में ये होगा, ठीक है? ध्यान रखना है ज़रूर। म्यूट है ना? हाँ काल पे म्यूट है। क्रोमा में चार्जर ऑफर है, ओके। क्या ऑफर है मुझे बताओ। परप्लेक्सिटी का भाई ये इसका मतलब क्या है? ए आई ए आई ए आई ए आई है, बेसिकली ए आई है। इंटेलिजेंस बोल सकते हो, जिससे आपको चैट जीपीटी पता है ना, उस तरीके का ये होने वाला है थोड़ा सा। पूरा चैट जीपीटी नहीं है, डिफरेंट है थोड़ा। तो देखो क्या सब्सक्रिप्शन मिल रहा है वैसे फ्री में, जो नथिंग फोन टू वे खरीदा है जिन्होंने, तो $200 वर्थ सब्सक्रिप्शन है, यानी कि $200 वर्थ सब्सक्रिप्शन आपको मिल रहा है फ्री में। ठीक है। तो आपको वाउचर रिडीम करना है यहाँ से, तो लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में मैंने दे रखा है। तो आप वहाँ से जाइए और वहाँ पे रिडीम नाउ पे टैप करिए, फिर यहाँ पे आ जाओगे, IMEI नंबर, ऑर्डर आईडी डालना है। मेरा भी अभी तक क्लेम नहीं हुआ है, देखो कब तक होता है। फ़ोन तो मैंने कब का ले लिया था पता नहीं, ऑफलाइन और आदर में, जैसे मतलब मैं शॉप वगैरह से खरीदता हूँ, क्रोमा वगैरह से। तो हमको यहाँ पे IMEI नंबर डालना है और रजिस्टर ईमेल आईडी डालना है, यानी कि एक मेल आएगा उसके बाद। ब्रदर नथिंग फोन में परफॉर्मेंस गेमिंग प्रॉब्लम है। जो भी गेमिंग का बोल रहा है ना, आप लोग क्या करिए पता है, बीजीएमआई ट्राई कर रहे होगे ना आप लोग वो ट्राई करिए, क्या बोलते हैं, COD मोबाइल, न्यू स्टेट मोबाइल, इनमें 90 FPS चल रहा है फ़ोन में। ये बताओ, और वो भी कांस्टेंट विदाउट एनी प्रॉब्लम।
Hello, everybody.
ओके, काल पे इज हियर
Hello,
गाइस।
everybody.
हेलो एवरीबॉडी।
Hey, Aravind, are you here? Hey, Aravind, are you here?
Hello, I'm here. Hello, I'm here.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to our
3 सेकंड
X
गाइस आया मैं।
Spaces. I'm Carl. I'm CEO and one of the co-founders of Nothing. And I'm really happy to be here with Aravind, the co-founder and CEO of Perplexity. Aravind, do you want to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, happy to be here and pretty excited. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Perplexity, and Carl and I are going to talk about like what we are doing together and like in general how AI native phones are going to look like in future.
Cool.
डिस्क्रिप्शन
Yeah.
में लिंक है, डिस्क्रिप्शन
Perplexity
में
is a
गाइस।
product that I actually discovered before we were introduced. One of the best recent use cases for me was uh, over Christmas. I went skiing in Austria, and I think we were gonna fly out of Austria through Geneva Airport in Switzerland because it's quite connected. And I was struggling to figure out how to do my tax refund because it was one airport like across a couple of different jurisdictions, and I just asked Perplexity. And I tried using Google first, and I just went back and forth between different links. Couldn't really find the information. Put the same query into Perplexity, and the first image that it brought back was like a map of the airport and how to walk to the tax refund. So it was super helpful.
Yeah, thank you,
उन
Carl.
लोगों से क्या
Actually, doing
मिलेगा ब्रो, एक
taxes and like
वाउचर मिलेगा, वाउचर।
figuring out
आप
insurance,
क्लेम करके
like what
रख लीजिए,
insurance to
जिनको
get
पास
for
फ़ोन टू है।
yourself or your employees or your car, all these things are like basic questions that we all don't really have expert
जेट
friends
प्लस वन
on,
प्लस ट्वेल्व ले लो यार, मुझे
and we
वन
have to
प्लस
like
ट्वेल्व पे ज़्यादा
waste
भरोसा
time
है।
like reading a bunch of links and getting even more confused. So having a tool like this is very useful. I discovered you guys like nothing way earlier too. Um, Firstly, when MKBHD made a video of you guys, and that's when I first saw the Nothing phone, and you had a very unique design. And I think you did an interview with him also. And then the Android co-founder Rich Miner also told me
Oh
like
yeah.
you guys should you should really work with Carl and Nothing.
ओके। किसी ने कमेंट
And
किया
then
था।
in the end, it was Josh, right? Josh from Browser Company that put us together.
Yeah, Josh from Browser Company put us together when we were, like working with him too on the Arc browser default search.
Cool. Yeah, I think what we've done is just the beginning of a partnership, and we're looking into more stuff that we can do together. Um, but I think we already have a really great deal for our users, right?
Xiaomi 14 जीत गया था।
Yeah, absolutely.
ले सकते हो फिर
So
Xiaomi 14
what we
Pro।
basically announced in the launch of the Phone 2A is that every phone that's sold in the first week will get Perplexity Pro for
ललित
like
वर्मा
a
कैमरा
year
ठीक है, ऐसा कोई
for
दिक्कत नहीं।
free.
1 ईयर का सब्सक्रिप्शन दे रहे फ्री में,
Quite similar to the
ऐसा बोला
partnership we
उन्होंने।
did with the Rabbit device. I think Jesse is also here, where like people who bought the first 100,000 Rabbit devices would get Perplexity Pro for 1 year for free. And I just see this as a natural thing to do because the future is not the legacy devices are all there, and like they're all being run by giant trillion-dollar companies. But the future is in like devices that embrace AI more natively, and clearly that requires control of the level of operating system and like actual hardware. And we would love to be part
फोन टू ए
of
जिटर करता है क्या?
such
हाँ हाँ,
devices
थोड़ा
and
थोड़ा
power the
ठीक हो
experiences.
जाएगा, पर डोंट वरी.
So giving more value, more bang for the buck, right? And it's also crazy that like the phones are getting very cheap. I was even seeing a video,
ले लो भाई, ललित वर्मा
I
ले
think
लो.
like 2 weeks ago, or
28 में
like a
मिल रहा है
week
तो ले
ago,
लो.
about how the highest end tech users, like usually like the highest end tech users are those that can notice the differences between, um, you know, the previous generation of an iPhone and the next generation of an iPhone. And it's crazy that like what this person was noting that
आंख में
it's a
साबुन
tech
चला गया, पता है?
nerd and
सुबह
he
दिमाग
doesn't
खराब हो रहा
even
है.
have the ability now to say the difference between iPhone 13 and 15, other than of course the charging port. Nothing really is changing in terms of core experience as much. Really,
ओह,
nothing
ऐसी बात है
noticeable
क्या?
on a day-to-day basis.
पक्की खबर.
And that's crazy. That just means you're just continually getting charged more for the same offering. So nobody has any incentive in these companies to really work on lowering prices and delivering like something that's way better for the price.
कलर कौन सा
So
बेस्ट है?
that's why
Yeah.
I'm super excited about
वाइट.
the launch of Nothing Phone 2A, because you're giving a high-end phone with so many features for just $300, and that's where the future should be heading towards.
बात तो
And
सही है
it's also
यार,
about
इतने कम
the
प्राइस में
level of
फोन
effort and love
दिया
you
जा
put
रहा
into
है.
the product. I think, these big tech companies, they
मिल्क
have so
बेटर होगा,
many
मिल्क
different
अभी नहीं
product
आएगा हमारे
lines,
यहाँ पे.
so they can only
इतना
really
फर्क
put a
नहीं
lot
है
of
यार,
effort on
वाइट
their
वाइट ठीक
flagship
लगता है मुझे.
products.
मिल्क नहीं अच्छा.
Whereas, we have very few product lines. We
बेस्ट
have two,
अडेप्टर
basically, our flagship line and the 2A
ये
line.
और
And
CMF.
our team was able to put, so much time and energy into the 2A as well to deliver that really great experience, even when it's at a
वाह.
$300 price point. Also,
Yeah,
the deal we made together, I think it's super cool, right? Like the value of a year of Perplexity Pro
बिग
is
फैन, बिग
200
फैन.
bucks.
yeah,
You buy a phone
absolutely.
for 300.
ब्लैक ऑर्डर कर
Yeah,
दिया है, ब्लैक ऑर्डर हो गया है
yeah, it's
प्लस
very
है.
similar, and I think
वन
like
मिनट से रिप्लेसमेंट डाल दो,
I
बोला
feel
कि
like it's
कलर गलत आ
like
गया.
more than the value. It's clearly about the experience that we can create. I've seen a lot of people with a Nothing phone post these screenshots of their home screen now, the Perplexity widget.
हाँ
Some
Mm-hmm.
हाँ
people
हाँ.
have the Google widget still. Some people have the Perplexity widget above the Google widget, and it's very exciting to see at least like okay,
मैंने बाजू में
something you
रखा हुआ है,
imagine would
होम
never
स्क्रीन पे नहीं
be
रखा है.
possible to change.
परप्लेक्सिटी
The
का विजेट.
core home screen is now
यार
slowly
मैसेज नहीं
changing.
देखता, नहीं
So that
दिखता
maybe
तुमको?
that leads me to like the
अवने
question I
द्विवेदी,
always wanted
वेट
to ask
वेट,
you, Carl,
सुन रहा हूँ मैं.
is
अब सबके देख रहा हूँ मैं.
like when you ever say tell people you want to compete with the iPhone, people just laugh at you, right? Like people say like that's a joke. Like Apple owns the ecosystem. Like how dare you compete
Mm-hmm.
with them? They have all these margins. Um, so what gave you the conviction, honestly, and like
बॉक्स
what
ओपन करो या
continues
नहीं
to
है?
give you the
कर सकते
conviction to
हो.
like keep going on this direction?
नहीं करना तो नहीं करो,
Well,
वो सीधा ले
at
जाएगा
first it was
रिप्लेसमेंट.
kind of like a sense of responsibility.
रजत सिंह,
There's
इज इट
not a lot of
यूजफुल?
teams in the world that can even
देखते हैं
take a
यार,
stab at this.
वही
And
इसीलिए
even
तो
if it's
लाइव आया हूँ
hard,
मैं लाइव.
even if the chances of success are minimal, at least, we're able to try, right? And if we don't try, there's not a lot of others who can try. But then I think if you think about it from another direction, Nokia didn't create the current smartphone era, right? And neither
नोकिया
did
ने स्टार्ट किया
BlackBerry.
था. हाँ,
And
ब्लैकबेरी
I
नोकिया
just
ने
think
स्टार्ट
the
किया था.
likelihood of the current gen big tech creating the next gen of technology, at least based on history, is not super high. So I think we have a shot, and now, with the world heading towards the AI era, I think a lot of the competitive advantages or the moats that big tech has will reset, so that even smaller companies and new teams have a chance to finally competing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm kind of reminded of a quote by Vinod Khosla. I don't remember it verbatim, but he's basically said he's lived through many decades of technological revolutions and disruptions, and usually the disruption is never done by the incumbent. It's always done by the
Mm-hmm.
startups. It's counterintuitive. You would assume that the incumbent has more resources, like more like incentives to benefit from the like anything new, way faster and stuff like that. But just because of their size and bureaucracy and lack of focus and too many things to do, things move slowly. And by the time the new person is like disrupted the field already, so that's sort of how I feel about nothing. Like there's this. Power, right, in the smartphone, that the president of the United States and like some college kid can both use the same phone. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter. And now this just extends, like you're democratizing it even more. Like a $300 phone is way more affordable than like $1,200 phone. And
हम्म।
that makes it like possible just the most powerful person in the
कैमरा
world,
कैसा है, 2A का सब
like the
क्रिटिसाइज
person
कर रहे
ruling the biggest
हैं। टोटली
democracy in the
नहीं,
world,
अच्छा भी है।
would be only able to use the same
वीडियो
phone in
आएगा
terms of
गाइस, वीडियो
features
आएगा।
and like capabilities as somebody else in like another country, right? And that's what I think is remarkable about like what you're trying with the mid-range like price range but high-end
कुछ
capabilities.
एक्सक्लूसिव बताओ यार।
And
ये सब वही बातें कर
as
रहे हैं
for
कि
us, like
फोन
I take
प्राइस कम में
inspiration. Like
अच्छा फोन लॉन्च कर,
people
या
say competing Google is like a joke and like it's so hard to do. There's only one company that's even harder to compete with than Google. It's Apple. And like the fact that you're competing with them and like making really good progress, like you sold 100,000 phones already. That's very exciting,
एक
inspirational to
लाख
see.
फोन्स बेच गए।
And you
हाँ,
guys
एक
are
लाख सेल हो गए
shipping
गाइस।
shipping really quickly as well, right? I saw announcements today about the map
अरविंद डोंट इवन
integration,
नो
and
पोको X6
earlier
Pro पावर।
in the week about the Yelp integration.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal is like obviously, when you want to be on the phone, when you want to be an app that's used on the phone every single day, you need to enable capabilities that people would typically like to use on their phones. And people usually do their shopping, their local searches, and stuff like that on their
2A ले लूँ या
phone.
कोई और फोन ले लूँ
And
अंडर 30K?
if
अगर
you
30,000
cannot cover
बजट है तो
those
दूसरा
queries,
फोन के
it's
साथ
not a
जाओ।
very useful app. So we're taking baby steps. It's still not great. Like, I saw already a lot of comments on Twitter saying like Yelp sucks and you should have better sources of data.
Mhm.
And like reviews on Yelp are not as thorough or complete as Google Maps, and all that is like good feedback. But
120
you
वाट
got to
सब,
start
नो
from
आइडिया
somewhere.
यार,
And
स्टॉक के बारे में नहीं पता।
um, bringing more like experiences like that, local, um, like weather and like shopping and news and things like that, like more on the phone, will make our app even more ubiquitous and will make the widget even more natural to use than
विजेट में काम होने
using the
वाला
Google
है।
widget for most of your queries.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're in the very early stages of AI on devices, right? So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on where things are heading. How are things going to look like a couple of years from now? And also curious to hear, Jesse, your thoughts after Aravind.
Yeah. My thoughts are that, like, I mean, obviously, like, creating an experience where you can just ask your phone a question and just get the answer instead of just opening your Chrome app
नथिंग का कूपन
and
चेंज
like
स्टार्ट आईडी दो
typing
दो
in one or
नीचे
two
सेल कर रहा
words and
हूँ।
opening a bunch of links. That's the immediate change that we're trying to bring to the world, and like our partnership is like a big step towards that.
भाई
And
इधर रीसेल
it's
रीसेल
still
विल मत
not
करो, ठीक
something
है?
that people
इसको
take for
हाइड कर दो
granted,
भाई,
right? Like
क्यूट सौरव
it's
चौबे
still
को
something that's new. And we need to
चैट
move
डिलीट
the world
करूंगा।
to a place where people take it for granted that answer engines are the
मैं ही कर
natural
देता
form
हूँ।
factor. You should just go ahead and start with a
फ्री में देना
question
तो दो,
instead
नहीं तो
of
नहीं।
like typing in one or two words. And that doesn't mean the Chrome app is irrelevant or deprecated. You can still use it to like get to a quick website pretty fast. But any informational needs, actually asking, like finding out something about a topic, like you should be able to just use an answer engine. So that's the change like we are working hard towards bringing, and that'll disrupt the existing business models around ads for sure, especially on the phone. I'm excited for things beyond that too. And the natural next step for that is the actions, agents, right? You can even question, okay,
नेक बैंड ले लेने वाला हूँ, थोड़े दिन
just
में ले
like how
लूंगा।
you question the need for web pages and links, and like having one app to
दोनों
like
मंगाएंगे।
find all the information on the web. You can say like, why do I need all these different
आई हैव
apps
दिस राइट
in
नाउ।
the first
किधर गया?
place? I can have one super app where I ask it to do anything for me, and then that just deprecates the OS itself, like, or rather, it redefines the OS to be something way more minimal, right?
आई
Like
हैव
as
दिस
just like
राइट नाउ
one
जो फ्री में
layer of
मिला अपने को.
interaction, and all these underlying apps live as backend interactions beneath. And that's what, like, I think all these action models are trying to do, and like Jesse's, like, working on that too through the Rabbit device. So maybe we'll ask him to talk about that.
ओके, जेसी बात करने वाला है.
Hey, Colin. Hey, everyone. It's good to be here. Yeah. Actually,
डू यू फेल्ट एनी डिफरेंस बिटवीन डॉल्बी एटमॉस
I've been
एंड दिस
following
बिकॉज इट
Colin,
डजंट हैव इट?
obviously
हाँ,
Perplexity for
डिफरेंस नहीं
quite a
पता
long
चला, मुझे
time.
भी नहीं पता चला इतना.
Actually
सेम ही
met
लगता है
most of
मुझे
the
तो.
nothing teams back
लाउड
in
स्पीकर
the
में फ़ोन यूज़ कर
amazing
रहा हूँ
team, I
यार,
have to
और
say.
हेडफोन में लाइक पता
Amazing
चलेगा आपको,
product,
लाइक
and
ईयरबड्स वगैरह पहने होंगे तभी
super
पता चलेगा.
excited for the new phone 2A. Even though I haven't got mine yet, I'm mostly spending my time in America. I don't know how
और
to
ये
get
मेरा फ़ोन
one
आने वाला है
fast,
1-2 घंटे
but
में, ब्लैक कलर, सीट
I believe
पंचाल,
I'll
बहुत
get
बढ़िया
one
यार,
soon.
I'll text you. I'll
मज़ा
text you
आएगा.
after this.
Okay, okay, all right, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, just to share my take here, I think recently I've been doing a very funny observation. Like I start counting on how many buttons I need to click, or
बटन्स.
how many interface I need to go through, how many
ध्यान रखो
pages
गाइस,
of
ये
interface I need
ध्यान
to
दो,
go
ध्यान
through
दो.
to accomplish one task. And I think the result is quite shocking. For instance, like to get on here and start talking with you guys, knowing that this Twitter space is gonna happen at exact time, at exact location,
हाँ,
it actually takes me like more than 30 clicks, or um, clicks of buttons
10 क्लिक.
to be able to talk. Like that sounds stupid. I think a lot of people are
ऑटोमेशन के बारे में
I
बात
mean,
कर रहा है ये.
we're all this generation of smartphone users, and we're all this early victims of not so smart AI systems. I think that creates such a strong PTSD in our generation. Like if you think about 10 years ago, the dictation engine wasn't really good, and we're using NLP, and I really don't understand um, a lot of context other than pre-programmed, category. I think since transformer and LLMs, I think there's this dramatic shift of how I want to imagine what is possible, integrating the AI systems. And we're just really focused on solving the tasks, because um, we started trying this agent idea, which is basically super prompts on LLMs, like right after we got access of GPT. I think that was like 2.5, if not 3 years ago. And the results are just not so good. So
टू
that's
वे
why we moved
पोर्ट्रेट सही हुआ
towards
क्या
super
अपडेट के
symbolic and
बाद?
start
अरे
actually
पोर्ट्रेट
building
पहले
the
से भी
AI
नहीं सही
learning,
था.
all the application interfaces. Because my belief is that if you think about what
अपडेट
are
आएगा अभी
the
एक.
current highest efficiency of communication, I would still argue, maybe before the Neuralink stuff finally become consumer market, it's still natural conversation or natural language, whether we're texting each other or we're just here talking. Um, I guess that's exactly why we're here having this Twitter Spaces, because again, just start talking
मेरा
in
ब्रो,
natural
मैंने
language.
फ़ोन
That's
कैंसिल
still
नहीं
the
किया, वो मेरा
most
सही डिसीजन
efficient
था क्या?
communication
सही है
method.
यार, डोंट वरी,
And I
इतना भी
think,
खराब फ़ोन नहीं
think
है,
about all these
बिलीव
mobile
मी.
devices, whether it's a phone or a
मैं
new
हूँ ना.
type of native AI devices like what
वो
we're
डथिंग
building
भी
with
है.
R1. It's primarily just a communication tool, right? It's either going to be a communication tool between you and others, or it's going to be a communication tool between you and different services and information, knowledges, like search engine. Um, so I think, the industry is ready to take this step forward and take this leap to kind of like finally start thinking about, oh, maybe now the technology is ready to kind of like again, like what you point out, everyone, like take baby steps, knowing that there's huge potential in the near future, not the far future, in the near future, that we might be able to just create an entire generation of more natural interaction with devices and with other guys with latest technology. I think this is the first. I mean, we had these visions for years, right, for decades, but I think this is finally us being in the industry that we actually start building in this section, that we know for a fact and take a guarantee that the technology is ready and there's huge potentials. Um, but I think it's still too early to debate. Oh, which form factor is actually going to be the future? I think that actually doesn't matter. If you think about why this generation of smartphone become such form factor is because you know, because obviously because of iPhone. Before iPhone, that was other form factors with analog keyboard,
सीट पंचल अच्छा
and I have
ले
to
लो मंगा लो
say that if you look back in the history, which I also like to look back in the history, that
CMF ले लो
iPhone was actually Steve Jobs' second project.
वो
He
तो
wants
है
to do the iPad first because he had this intuition that
जस्सी
you
भैया अच्छे
just want
बात
to
कर
have
रहे
a
हैं जो भी कर
tablet
रहे हैं
made of a glass. But then he doesn't quite understand like how people should interact on that. So Apple actually started work on multi-touch first, and they spent like years figuring out, what is the right way to do multi-touch on a glass or panel, and then they have the multi-touch technology, hardware, both hardware and software, and the multi-touch was so good that they actually decided to put in the smaller screen first. So that's gave the birth of iPhone. Um, and I think the multi-touch is a majorly step forward in comparison with previous version of PDAs. I mean, there's touch with stylus, and there's kind of like the BlackBerry screw wheels and screw balls and all that.
पुराने
Those
जमाने
are
की
all
बातें
exist, but I think the technology leap in comparison with multi-touch in compare with the previous generation is just so dramatic that it ultimately decides the current form factor, which is just basically, if you're looking at all the phones, the core of it is a touch screen, right? It's a panel of glass. So I think we're right about the same um, time of history here, that maybe if you look at a Perplexity, obviously if you look at the new Nothing OS with all these widgets, if you look at what we were done with R1 design,
ये फोन कैसे है
I
गाइस
think
ये बताओ
we're trying to migrate the core, which is the interaction between human and software and devices, that we're trying to eliminate all the unnecessary steps and trying to build this AI system that's smart enough to understand your intention, but also with the action system that be able to actually help you do things. So that's kind of like my take. But I think again, absolutely correct. Like I I don't expect that the next generation form factor, whether it's software or hardware, is going to be defined by previous generation of companies. I simply just don't believe that. I mean, again, that
ओके
never happens in the history like that. And if you look at all the existing products that we can purchase as a customer, obviously, if you think about the pace, how companies like Perplexity and Nothing, and obviously us, Rabbit, are
नथिंग
are,
फोन से
are
बेटर तो मेरा
moving,
नथिंग फोन वन चल रहा है
that's not even comparable. I think the native AI company, and I just saw this Devon AI engineer yesterday. So this new generation of startups, because they don't have the burdens of what they already have for the past like couple of decades,
कंपैरिजन
they
करेंगे
are super
पता चल
adaptable
जाएगा
to take
थोड़ा
whatever the
वेट करो
latest technology that we can get hands on, and we know exactly where we want to build in the future. So the current acceleration is simply just unstoppable. That's kind of like my general opinion towards this. But I think I'm here rooting for Nothing and Perplexity. And again, everyone, thanks for inventing this kind of deal with us. And I'm glad that more customer of Nothing can benefit from it. And obviously, Kyle, keep building. I think it's super exciting to see what Nothing come to offer to us next. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse.
1600
Thank you,
का मिल रहा
Jesse.
है अच्छा डील है कहाँ मिल रहा
Also,
है राधा कृष्णा
you said this thing, right? But like why the next generation of software and hardware is going to be done by startups. The reason, one obvious reason for why that's going to be the case is the speed at which we do things, both in terms of actual engineering, shipping, as well as
सुबह से
the speed at
परेशान हूँ
which we
मैं
do deals too, right? And like these
मिंत्रा पे
are
है क्या ओके
much harder for
नथिंग फोन टू का कैमरा कैसा
existing
है
incumbents to do
ठीक
because you
है
just need
नॉट
like
दैट ग्रेट
20 people in a
फोन टू
room
भी
to
यहीं रखा
agree
है
and 5 people to sign off and like all these things, and it just takes a lot more time.
ये रहा
And
फोन टू
we need,
फास्ट है यार बहुत
and it's
फास्ट है
good that we're all
8
using it
प्लस
to our
जेन वन है यार
advantage and like making things happen much faster. So
ये
Carl,
रहा
maybe
फोन
like
टू भी है
given that like we've heard people heard from both me and Jesse on this, what's your opinion on like
फोन बंद है यार
how AI is going to change the phone, the OS,
बैटरी लो
beyond obviously like
फोन टू की
answering questions and form factors of voice and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. I'm not sure the form factors are going to change in the short term. If you look at the shipment volumes, smartphones is pretty big. I think over 1 billion are sold every year. That means people kind of like this form factor. But I do think the OS is getting quite boring
मैं आज
and is
लेने वाला हूँ
not really solving consumers' needs.
34,000 ले लो
Maybe Apple
वन प्लस 12
invented
और
it,
आप
but
भी
actually I
ऑप्शन है.
think this current paradigm of mobile OS was invented before Apple. Even the Symbian S60 on Nokia
सिम्बियन,
devices
अरे
were
भाई
quite
मैंने भी यूज
similar,
किया
right?
है.
You had a home screen, you had apps, you had a lock screen, and back then it was called the OV Store, not the App
हाँ हाँ
Store.
हाँ हाँ,
Over the years, the system has gone a lot faster.
बहुत
It
पहले की
looks a
बात
lot
है यार.
better. The cameras are better. Screens are better. But fundamentally, I don't think the OS has changed from 15 years ago until today. And
हाँ, दिखने
hopefully,
में वो
for
तो वैसे ही
me,
रहेगा,
like
अब
the
क्या
next
क्या
wave
चेंज कर
of
देंगे.
um, AI-powered
चार्ज
computing
क्यों नहीं
will
हो रहा है
change the
ये?
OS and deliver the stuff that consumers wants to do on their device 10 times faster than before. I think if you maybe zoom out and look at
हो
technology
गया
as a
चालू हो गया.
whole, it's always increased productivity, right? Productivity and efficiency, allowing
भाई तो
people to
फ्लेक्स
do
कर रहा
more
है,
than
वो
before
फ्लेक्स कर रहा
or
है.
do the same thing as before at a much lower price, much lower cost. So I think this the next generation of AI powered software will do the
मेरा
same.
काम है यार,
So
इसीलिए फोन लिया, नहीं तो इतने कौन
I'm
फोन लेता है.
still thinking about this every day and how it can fit into our roadmap. But I think,
फोन 2
yeah,
में देखने का
let's work
घमंड
on the
है,
OS
ये लो.
side. That's why I was so inspired by the work you guys are doing, both of you.
मैं भी फोन
By the
2
way,
में देख
Jesse,
रहा हूँ
looking
अपनी
forward
स्ट्रीम.
to testing the R1 as well. It's shipping this month, right? Or next month?
Yeah, so
अगले महीने से.
we're also close to 100,000 units sold within a month. So we're shipping North America, EU, most of the EU countries, UK, Japan, South Korea, and team is trying to catch up with more, uh,
मेरा ब्लैक है.
you know,
ओके.
countries and locations, and obviously India. I think you guys are killing in Indian market, and we're still working on the local compliance and all that stuff. We're extremely small team, but U.S. orders batch one shipping March 31st.
क्या बेचते
So
हैं लोग?
it's pretty close.
देखने दो.
But
ये क्या है?
just to your point, while you guys are talking about the OS, I kind of like I think
कुछ अच्छा लेके
there's a
आओ
real
भाई, कुछ तो
competition
अच्छा.
here
मजा आ जाए
about
जिसको यूज करते हुए.
which company
मैं देख
or
रहा हूँ.
which group are building the definitive
अनलिमिटेड प्रो
OS
सर्च, फाइल
for
अपलोड्स,
the upcoming
अपग्रेडेड एआई
generation.
मॉडल्स, एपीआई क्रेडिट्स जो
Because
हमको मिलने वाला है फ्री में
before
एक साल.
everyone's building apps, and because everyone's building apps without the
ये
current
तीन
capacity
चार
and
चीजें मिलने
capabilities of
वाली
the
है
AI,
फोन टू
that
वालों को.
everyone just building a thing for a scenario. But now when we think about what kind of tools and we can utilize, what kind of technologies we can utilize, it's so easy to build much more powerful uh, applications or software in general than the previous generation, right? I mean, I just saw the map integration with Perplexity. I mean, back in the days in Google, that's a separate team, right? That's the Google Map team alone just to do that. I guess now, because of the development of the software in general, and especially AI technology and AI tools, that make that task being able to achieve by relatively small group of team with relatively small limited resources
सिंक
in
वर्क बाय.
comparison with
बाय
what the previous generation guys are doing. So I think the real competition here is that we're gonna see
बाय
a
बाय
lot of
बाय.
companies are building different stuff, and eventually you will realize, okay, maybe a lot of things has the potential to become an entire OS, right? So my argument is that I actually think Perplexity has a huge potential just become an entire operating system other than just a search engine, and that's the same
सिंक वर्क कर दो यार, कोई
judgment
दिक्कत
that
नहीं है.
when I think about Nothing OS, because I start seeing a lot of new inventions on top of Android based system or Android foundations, and I think we'll see more company are building a software that has potential of becoming the entire OS. So I think the real competition is actually this, like which company will be able to create a definitive OS for the next generation. Now, obviously,
ऑपरेटिंग
if
सिस्टम में थोड़ा
you
इंटीग्रेशन होने
go
वाला है,
back
कंफर्म है.
to 101, that's all about user experience. And my assumption is that, okay, we first take intentions, and now a lot of people are building action models, and a lot of people are, fine tuning the existing services with much better
बाई चैट्स
experiences.
देख रहा हूँ
That
गाइस, देख रहा हूँ,
the
ऐसा नहीं है,
competition
देख
is
रहा
going
हूँ.
to
अभी
become
वो
very
ध्यान
fierce
देना
in
पड़ रहा
the
है, इधर
very
दूंगा
short term,
देखूंगा
near
उधर तक
future.
चला जाता है माइंड
And
से.
then who's going to winning the overall game
इंपॉर्टेंट
is
बात बोल,
probably
एक
not
सुनो.
going to be a debate between features, because most likely the features is going
एक
to
सेकंड
be
गाइस.
become very generic, and whatever features A offers, most likely B can do it. But I think the game is going to be decided by a very finite details. Like if you think about iOS versus Android, that basically Android eventually catched up with essentially all the core features, if not more than the early version of iOS. But I think the iOS just had that multi-touch core technology, and that, if you think about the early version of like HTC Android phones, that when I was playing Fruit Ninja on those devices, I just feel like, nah, it's a bit too laggy in comparison with my iPhone, right? So I think the competition is really about who to create the next OS, and you always want to figure out the software before you make the hardware. And even for us with R1, we're not saying R1 is the hardware is like the right solution. We're like, okay, because we do the LAN first and we want to lower the barrier, so we want to build
सॉरी.
as
किसने पूछा था फोन
cheap
टू है या
as
सेकंड
possible.
हैंड
So
वन
that's why
प्लस
we're
11 आर
like
8 मंथ्स का
selling
फोन.
only
वन प्लस
$199
इलेवन आर
instead of
अच्छा परफॉर्म
we go
करेगा
like more
तो वन प्लस
premium
11
version
आर
on the
ले लो,
premium one. So
आपके
we're not
ऊपर है.
sure yet. But again, I think whoever
अमित चौधरी बता दिया
win
मैंने
the
आपको
software,
आंसर.
especially whoever be able to define the comprehensive overall operating system, they will have a better chance to figure out what exactly the form factor, or
बताओ किसका
basically they
लेना
they
चाहिए.
they have a saying
फोन टू का
on what
बेटर है
exactly the form
ये
factor
वाला.
that will be, and we only will see more competitors in this domain,
फोन भी
which is
अच्छा है,
super good because
फास्ट है,
competition brings honesty and innovation.
बस
I think
90
at
प्लस
least
आ जाए.
we're in this mentality, be like, hey, welcome to this arena, and let's see more competitions, so that ultimately we can benefit everyone as and consumers and customers. So I think it's quite interesting because I really think
गैलरी कब
that
आएगा? आ जाएगा, बता दूंगा जैसे
both
ही आ जाएगा,
Perplexity and Nothing has the
वीडियो आ जाएगा.
potential of building the entire new kind of like OS, other than just what your guys are currently offering as an app or as a uh, uh, Android phone. So I think that's actually quite interesting and exciting.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this too, and like, there are either two possible futures where, you could say the person who controls the OS or owns the OS has the ability to like, you know, create this interaction layer where the home screen is just like a single uh, bar to like speak into or like type into and ask for something. Or it could be a separate app in the existing OS where you go there and ask whatever you want, and that controls the rest of the apps. But clearly, like a person who's having the building blocks for like routing across apps
लाइक कर दो
and
गाइस जो भी नया जुड़
making
रहा है
different
स्ट्रीम
apps
पे.
talk to each other,
बस थोड़ी देर दे दो, मैं फिर मैं
and being
आप
able
लोगों
to
से ही बात
connect
करूंगा.
the endpoints pretty
खत्म
efficiently,
होने वाला है बस.
um, has the power to build such a powerful technology, either as a standalone app or like natively just changing how the whole OS itself looks like in terms of just simplifying it, right? Um, and I think this could basically like this are like the thing I believe.
प्रीमियम सब्सक्रिप्शन मिलेगा
I
फ्री
don't know if
में
you've seen
200
this
USD, मतलब 1 साल
image of
का. तो
Steve
उसमें आप
Jobs
लोग उसके
in his like big
लाइक
home, but he just has like a lamp and sitting on the
उसके जो
floor.
भी.
It's my
Uh,
wallpaper on my phone.
रुको रुको
Yeah,
रुको.
so
बोल
that's
रहे.
how the phone should feel like, right? You open the phone, and you don't want to see a clutter or it's like always like right now I'm just like constantly figuring out where the app I want to go towards is, or like swiping down and typing it. You don't
अब नहीं दी
want it
मेरी.
to feel like that. You just want it to literally just feel
देंगे,
like
अभी नहीं देंगे, बाद में
there's only
देंगे.
one app or like maybe two apps at best, and you do everything
स्पैम
through
मत करो
that.
गाइस, स्पैम मत करो.
And so
बस 2 मिनट
it
दो,
really depends on your
खत्म होने वाला है.
perspective of whether that itself is the new OS or like the OS itself
फोन
has to
टू
change.
एक्सप्लेन
These
एक्सपीरियंस
are all like,
फ्रॉम रेडमी.
perspectives. The
प्राइंस
Zoom
थॉमस,
factor.
गुड वन.
what you call as the OS and what you call as the super app. But that's just inevitable. This is going to happen, and some of us will be providing the backend functionality. Some of us will be the default front end.
ब्रो फोन 2 और फोन 2
Very
में
few
किसका
of us
कैमरा
honestly
अच्छा
will
है?
be the
फोन
default
2
front
का,
end,
इसका अच्छा है,
and so
बोला
that's
तो मैंने.
exciting. I'm happy whatever future works out. Like, cause the users are going to win anyway.
ऑब्वियसली
And like
बेटर
the
है इसका,
current clutter
फोन
is
की
going to
प्राइसिंग
go
ज्यादा
away,
है यार,
and the
कैमरा
people
सेंसर
with the
अच्छा
biggest
है.
incentive to preserve the current clutter are the incumbents, right? So that's exactly why it's exciting for startups like us to try. And there are also like skeptics here, like skeptics who say, hey, like, whatever you say, the ad revenue, Google's continuing to go up, the iPhone revenue of Apple's continuing to go up. But this is literally how the BlackBerry revenue was. Like, BlackBerry continued to keep going up on an exponential, even 4 years after the iPhone
अभी
launched. And then
कंपैरिजन
after
बात
that, it
करोगे तो
all
मैं
came
आंसर वही दूंगा ना कि फोन 2
sinking
बेटर
down.
है.
So that's how I feel like this revolution is also going to take place,
प्राइसिंग
where
कितनी
it's
है
going
उसके
to take
फोन
a
के, वो भी
while for
ध्यान
people
करो.
to really adjust and understand. And once they get it, they just really get it. And
अरे भाई यार चार्जर
that's what
बता
I'm
दो,
really excited to
CMF
see.
चार्जर ले लो, नहीं तो नथिंग का ऑफिशियल
It
चार्जर ले
feels
लो.
like we're almost in a renaissance of technology, right? A couple of years ago, things felt really boring, and all of a sudden, especially this year, there's
यश
a
भाई
lot of
बता दिया
interesting
मैंने,
things going on.
CMF का
So
ले लो नहीं तो
I'm
दूसरा ले
super
लो.
happy to be building alongside you guys and excited to see what we do together in the future. I thought I've seen a lot of questions on X, so I thought maybe we take some of those questions there, and then we open up for people currently tuning in to come on stage as well. What do
Oh,
you think about that,
I will
Arvind?
ask that.
That sounds
What
great.
when is
Yeah,
nothing
I
else
just want to
coming?
say I have to go. Yeah, I got early meeting tomorrow, but rooting for you guys. Thanks so much for inviting me as a speaker.
Thank you,
And
Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
जस्सी
Take
का
yeah,
है,
care.
भाग रहा है,
Carl,
जस्सी भैया भाग रहा है.
get me a phone 2A, right? So
Yeah,
let me know.
let's swap
लाडेन
for
में
our
OS
one.
भी है भाई इसमें.
Okay, yeah, let's
लाडेन भैया
swap
भी
for
आए,
that.
देखो
No
देखो मेरे
problem.
ऊपर ही है.
All right, see ya.
Thank you. All right, see you. Bye bye.
लाडेन भैया.
So Arvind, I have a question here. Is Perplexity going to work on image generation too?
Yeah, definitely. We
Okay.
already have support for image generation, where after an answer, if you want to generate an image that goes along with it, you can already do that. You have to be on the pro plan. That's why like most people are not aware of it today. But we are trying to make it available to most users, not just the pro users. And like we're also trying to
Vivo
think. Okay,
Y50
here's
से
the
मैं
thing,
आपको
right?
में
Like
अपग्रेड फील होगा
Perplexity
क्या?
is this
होगा होगा.
answer engine. It's not going to be a generic chatbot. So we don't want you to use it to like come here and try to use it
665
in a
है ना?
mid journey sort of manner,
होगा.
generate an image for me with so and so things. We would rather have you ask a question, and if the answer to that question is like much more enhanced with a generated image that goes along with it, without even you having to prompt engineer, that's the sort of user flow that we would like.
ओके, इमेज के द्वारा
And
आप
you
लोग
could edit the
क्वेश्चन एंड
prompt
आंसर पूछ
yourself if
सकते
you
हो.
feel like the generated image was not good enough with the default prompt construction.
ओके.
But our goal is not really to turn you into like a image generation prompt engineer and like trying to like create that just for the sake of using the product, because I feel like even if we try to do that, like Midjourney
भाई
will
मेरे
be way
पास
better than us at doing
शीतपंचल,
this.
मेरे पास एमआई का
And
चार्जर नहीं है ब्रदर.
you would rather have to just
ठीक
go
है,
to
तो
Midjourney and generate the
अगर
image you
आपको वो
want, right?
पीडी चार्जिंग
So
सपोर्ट
that's the
करता है
current
तो
thinking.
कोई दिक्कत की बात नहीं है.
But
बट
we try to
45
make
वॉट
it
का
much more
चार्जर फोन 2
accessible
में
to
लगेगा.
like
ठीक है,
most
इतना ध्यान
users.
रखो. इतना फास्ट चार्जिंग है.
All right. So
तो
whoever
ध्यान
asked
रखो
that
इतना
question,
आउटपुट
I
भी
think
रहे
you should have
इतने
your answer
चार्जर में.
now. There's another question about the future of our partnership. What's the future of Perplexity
डायलर
and
आ गया
Nothing's
है, हमको क्यों नहीं
collaboration?
मिला? डायलर
What
कब
do you
आया?
think,
कभी आया ही
Arvind?
नहीं है.
Yeah, so to start with, like I think this
वो
is the
थर्ड पार्टी
simplest thing
डायलर
we
है.
could do without having to do without having to invest in engineering efforts on both our ends,
डायलर
right?
आया
I
ही नहीं
kind
अभी
of
तक.
typically like to just get started quickly without actually like delaying things. My experience in start partnerships is that like most partnerships just fail because of time. We both parties are excited and then nothing happens because some engineering team is
47
busy
वाट
and
का
like
है,
like people
चल
keep
जाएगा फिर.
brainstorming
पीडी
ideas and
चार्जिंग
like
होना चाहिए.
nothing comes out of it. By the way, like there's no pun on the word nothing here.
यूज करके
Honestly,
देखो, घर पे ही है
the
ना,
way
होगा
we
एमआई
did
का.
it is like really fast. Like we just discussed on WhatsApp, like got the deal. I mean, obviously it started on Twitter and then we moved to WhatsApp to discuss the final terms. And then the next stage for us, honestly, is bringing the assistive experience more onto the phone, right? Like just figure out ways for people to like interact in like the voice form factor even more easily. We've been talking about like having the earbuds on and like trying to ask questions and get the answers read out to you. So the voice to voice experience is super important there. And then like being able to ask questions, which is uploading images, that's really important. Like now there are like way more models than just GPT-4 Turbo that enable that. Like Claude is also supporting image uploads, and open source models like Lava are catching up. So it's like possible to build even better experiences by customizing it to the user. So let's bring in these form factors more, right? Like through images and voice. So that's the natural next step. And then like the third step, which is the ultimate step in my opinion, is like
2A का
try to
चार्जिंग
think
स्पीड
harder
कम है
across like
नहीं है 60
controlling
टू
the OS
65
itself,
मिनट्स
like trying to see how
मेरे पास है इसका रिजल्ट है
an agentic interaction can be
72
built.
मिनट 75 मिनट्स लगा था फुल चार्ज के लिए
Cool. And I think there's a related question that I've also been thinking about a lot, which is if you look at the
उधर रखा हुआ
chipsets
है
on the smartphones, they're getting stronger and stronger. And the best chipsets today, they have a lot of compute on in their neural engine. Like they're all positioning it as AI chips. So when you think about the future of Perplexity, like what are the things that you want to keep doing in the cloud, and what are things that we can explore doing on the edge in the future?
Yeah, I mean, like the Perplexity is known more
डायलर आ
for
गया
the
क्या नहीं नहीं
online, like real-time knowledge, no cutoff, up-to-date information. So obviously, it's impossible to just keep storing the web on the edge, right? The web is so massive, and like building a whole index is like, like you can even go to trillions of pages, at least hundreds of
उनमें
billions
क्या
for like
लगा हुआ है ये
high-quality pages. So you can never store all of these on like the device. So we're always going to be connected to the internet for access to information. But the
फोन में
LLM
कुछ
could
लगा हुआ है
potentially run on the device, and that could be exciting. And in case like the user doesn't have Wi-Fi, uh, then they could still ask questions to the LLM and get answers based
स्लॉप
on whatever knowledge the LLM has, with clear
ओके
caveat that there's very likely going to be some hallucinations. And it could still be useful, like you could upload an image and
भाई
ask
ये भी
questions and
डेड है
stuff
भाई
like that,
फोन
and
वन
you
भी
don't
डेड
even
है
need access to the internet for that.
पहली बार हुआ है ऐसा
So
पता
those
है
kind of experiences don't require internet
क्योंकि मैं
and could
फोन पे
still be
यूज़ कर रहा
run
हूँ ज़्यादा
on
अभी के
on the
लिए
edge. Unfortunately, we are at a point today that the most reliable models, like the models that hardly hallucinate,
फोन
are
वन
also
डेड
the
है
ones that are so hard to host on device. And
Mhm.
but there are like, look, I think there are like going to be
स्क्रीन
better
गार्ड
and
कहाँ से
better
ले
availability for internet everywhere. Like
ऑफलाइन
Starlink
स्टोर
is
चले
making it
जाओ अगर
possible to
आपके
have
पास ज़्यादा पैसे नहीं
in
डालना नहीं
like
तो गैजेट
reliable
फील्ड
internet
मंगवा सकते
access
हो
even in the places where you wouldn't expect it to be. So I'm not so sure like how important it is to like really focus hard on the edge device LLMs, like getting a 7B or a 3B to like run on device. I don't particularly know like how
ऐसे कुछ
important or
टेक्निकल टर्म यूज़
existential it
करने हैं
is.
जिनका यूज़ नहीं करना चाहिए बिल्कुल भी
But if
सिंपल
at
रखना
all like
चाहिए
there's a part of the Perplexity stack that runs on device, it has to be the LLM.
या
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. There's a question here about how to prompt Perplexity for the best results.
ओके
I think you're the best one to answer that.
बीच में पे से सही करेंगे
Honestly,
ये देखते हैं यार
we've
क्योंकि
tried to
सीओडी मोबाइल और
design the
दूसरे गेम्स में
product
90 एफपीएस कांस्टेंट चल
in
रहा
a
है यार
way
तो
where you
60
do not
एफपीएस
need
बीजेएमआई में
to.
क्यों नहीं चल सकता
And this is our
मेन बात ये है
fundamental
तो चलना चाहिए
difference from ChatGPT. Like in
आज
ChatGPT,
शायद
if you
मैं
do
शूट
not
करूंगा
get the
वीडियो
right
फोन टू ए
response,
का
it's kind
गेमिंग
of like
वाला
your fault, and
तो
you have to
देखते
keep
हैं शाम तक अगर आ गया तो
you have to
ठीक
become a
अभी
better
शूट चालू
prompt
कर दूंगा
engineer.
दूसरी वीडियो होल्ड
I
पे रखते
think
हैं
the way
गेमिंग
we
का
have
करते हैं
tried to design the product is like the
आज
opposite way.
गेमिंग
Like
वाला बनाता हूँ वीडियो
we
इस पे
would
ठीक है
go above and beyond our way to understand your intent and try to get you the right answer.
आई नो सक्षम राजा आई
The
नो
default mode sometimes doesn't do this well. On the other hand, the pro search, the toggle that you can turn on, when your question is pretty vague, it at least comes back to you and asks clarifying questions. For example, you can try like plan a trip for me to like Japan or something.
प्लान ट्रिप
And then it would come and ask
जापान
you
टू
like which
ओके
part of Japan do you want to go to? Like what do
ओके
you want to do there? Is it nature or is it like restaurants, and is
चैट
it like
जीपीटी जैसे ही हो गया ना
culture?
फिर ये तो
And like how many days? What's your budget? Like these are stuff. On the other hand, in ChatGPT, you would instead be like, I want to go to Japan for like 7 days, or I don't want to spend more than $3,000. Like, and I'm interested in nature. You would be writing all this big prompt yourself. So I don't think that's the best mode of interaction. It's tiresome. So our goal is like to actually like not encourage you to be great prompt engineers and try to just understand your query pretty well. But to more directly answer your question, if you want to see better results, like try to be like non-ambiguous as possible. That this has nothing to do with Perplexity or
भाई नथिंग फोन
ChatGPT.
2
The
में मैं
more
कब स्टॉक्स में
precise
आएगा
and clear
पता
you
नहीं यार,
are,
अभी मुझे नहीं पता फ्लिपकार्ट के
the
बारे में.
better the results are likely to be.
धीरे धीरे
And if
देंगे
you're
वो लोग
trying to
स्टॉक्स.
understand a new concept, like adding things like explain like I'm file or like things that are very useful, I use it sometimes when I'm like asking to like the product to explain to me something
बीजे
I
में
just
एपिस
don't know
ड्रॉप सही
anything
हो जाएगा
about,
क्या? हो
because
जाएगा, हो
when
जाएगा.
you don't know
अपडेट
anything,
देंगे
it's
वो
best
लोग
to be
क्योंकि
explained to like a
रिपोर्ट काफ़ी हो
5-year-old.
गया है उस बारे में.
Makes sense. There's a question here, or there's a comment here asking us to
प्रणय
discuss
पॉल
the AI features on
2.5.3 कब आएगा?
smartphones, like the Galaxy AI.
रुक जाओ,
Maybe
इनको
I
बोल लेने दो.
can start with my take, and would love to hear yours too, Aravind.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think the Galaxy AI is very interesting.
सैमसंग के बारे में बात
However,
हो
it
रही है.
feels like I think it's a good start. It's not super ambitious, right? It's like, okay, you make the image editing experience a little bit better. You have a magic eraser that can erase stuff. The note taking is
हो
better.
जाएगा
There's
भाई, थोड़ा
some
वेट,
kind
मैं
of live
कुछ चीज़ें बता रहा
translation
हूँ.
between different
सक्षम राजा
languages.
भाई हो जाएगा.
And I think
मैं वीडियो बनाऊंगा, वीडियो
what
में
this is
देखना मैं
going
क्या
to
बोलता
do
हूँ.
is more make consumers request this. So when consumers are buying a smartphone,
CMF ईयरबड्स
they
में
will
ट्राई
ask
नहीं किया,
themselves the
अच्छा तो है
question,
सुनने में जो आया है
does this
मुझे.
smartphone have so-called AI? Right? I think Samsung is setting that expectation within consumers. So as a response to
अभी
that,
के लिए
everybody
ट्राई कर
else
रहा
has to
हूँ.
think of
नथिंग
feature
का ईयर
parity.
स्टिक.
How do we also make sure that when consumers are considering a new smartphone to buy, we're also considered because we have similar features as so-called Galaxy AI. However, I've been
10
spending a lot
सेकंड
of
का
time
टाइम
in
और
the
देना
Play Store
प्रणव.
recently
10
just to
seconds only.
see what are the smaller teams out there building. And basically all the Galaxy AI features are
ये मिल्क वाला क्या बोल
there's an
रहे
app
हो
for all
प्रणव?
of
प्रणव
those
मिल्क वाला कलर नहीं
that's
मिल रहा है
at
यहाँ
least
पे,
just as
ध्यान
good.
रखो इतना.
So as nothing, we will look into these things. We will look into feature parity with whatever the incumbents are setting up as expectations. But I think when it comes to AI, we should be a bit more ambitious and really kind of rethink the way
वाइट
people
वाइट
interact with
वाइट.
technology rather than just incremental
मिल्क वेरिएंट
improvements on
हमारे यहाँ
the
पे नहीं
day-to-day
है,
user
इंडिया में नहीं है.
experience. Um,
ये वाला कलर
yeah,
ले लो.
that's what I think. What do you
मेरे
think?
लिए तो वाइट है भाई, चाहे कुछ
I
भी
mean,
हो जाए.
I mean, obviously it's
मुझे अच्छा
self-serving
लगा.
for me to agree with you, but I really agree with you here.
ऑलवेज फ्री दे रहा था
Um,
AI.
I mean, interaction patterns have to change, right? Like people are just like sort of going and like
मुझे ऐसे क्यों
continually
लग रहा है ये जो
like
AI वाला जो
throwing
सिस्टम ये
apps
लेके
at
भी
the
आ रहा है
phone
ना,
and like
ये इतना चलेगा नहीं.
I think that has to fundamentally change. And
मेरा लाइव करने का रीज़न यही है कि
I
मालूम है क्या
also
है कि
think
आप
like
लोगों से भी ये
truly
पता सामने हो
understanding the
जाएगा
user
जो भी है, बट
will really help. Like the
मुझे ऐसा
phone
कोई इंटरेस्टिंग
understands
चीज़
you and
नहीं
like
इन्होंने
getting
बोली
much
जो
more
मैंने एक्सपीरियंस
personalized
किया
view.
चैट जीपीटी के साथ.
That can only be possible with good AI that's very natively embedded in the OS, and
अब ये
like
लोग ओएस
understanding
के
all
साथ
your
क्या कर
patterns
सकते हैं
across
वो
apps.
देखना है
Like these
अपने
are
को,
the sort of things
तो
that I
देखते हैं
feel
क्या
like we
बोल
should
रहे हैं.
be investing more into. And this doesn't mean like tracking all your data and like getting into the whole like the privacy discussion here. There are ways to do this where that your data doesn't actually leave your phone, and like this is actually, by the way, like this is a
ऑरेंज और
good
वाइट के
answer
बीच
to
में
the
कंफ्यूज हूँ,
whole
सही
edge
रहेगा
device thing,
ईयरबड्स.
that
ऑरेंज ले लो यार, ऑरेंज
some
ले
of
लो.
the
थोड़ा
fine
डिफरेंट लगेगा,
tuning
हाथ में लेके
of the
घूमोगे डिफरेंट
model
लगेगा.
can actually run on the
वाइट में क्या ही
device
करोगे, ऑरेंज लो ऑरेंज.
without the data having to leave your phone. And that can help like
ऑरेंज
all the
ऐसा दिखता है
user
ना.
embedding and user personalization that which would otherwise like have to leave your phone and get to a centralized server. And these are the things that concern a lot of users. So I think that's another place where like we can you can probably move even faster than incumbents
कहाँ
and
गया वो
like
वाला,
make a true differentiation.
ये वाला ले लो.
Awesome. Should we try taking some questions live from people listening in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.